All right, I'm showing 7 o'clock. We will call the town board meeting for August 3rd, 2020 to order. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. What do we got, Patrick?
Mr. Chair, please, the board, please add the information behind consent item 5E, the 2020 bow hunting requests. In addition to that, we would add 5I, more information on the archery deer hunt. Correct, Tom? Yep. 2 consent items, Mr. Chair.
That it?
That's it.
All right, hearing that, I need a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Item 3 is a motion to approve payment of the bills.
I'll move to approve payment of the bills.
Second that.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. All right, item number 4 is the approval of the minutes from July 20th. Steve, I gather you had some,
I had a few changes that I discussed with the clerk treasurer this morning. Were they made? The ones we discussed?
Full disclosure, I have them all. I have not put them in the minutes yet.
All right.
But I will tomorrow.
They were all minor cosmetic word changes.
well, I only had one small comment on them. Scotty, you have anything?
I had nothing.
So move to approve the minutes of the July 2020 meeting with the changes that the chair and myself recommended.
Second that.
All right, motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, that motion carries. Item number 5 is consent agenda. Looks like we have 9 of them. If the board feels they don't need to discuss any of this, I would look for a motion to approve.
I will move to,
Go ahead.
I will move to approve the amended consent agenda.
I will second that, noting that consent agenda item 5A had one typo in it that the clerk treasurer said he would correct it. It's
Oh.
just rescheduling from
Yeah.
the 7th to the 9th, but it had the 9th on both dates. So I'll second.
All right, motion's made and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, that motion carries. And number 6 is old business. This is our emergency management team report. Patrick, you gonna start it out?
Sure, not much to report on that front, other than the township attorney and I have been kind of working on our proposed grant program for our CARES Act funds. We will have the language, both his memo citing the legalities of the program and what the township can and can't do, and then my outline for the actual process I finished today. We will have that in front of you as an EDA board at your next meeting. But other than that, I don't think there's anything else to add. Is there, Chad?
Not really.
Okay.
All right, any questions, comments, concerns from the board? And with staff, when do we advertise for that position?
We're not for another probably 3 weeks.
Is that when you'll have the new job description?
Correct.
So the temp has started?
Yes, she finished her first week last week. And she showed up this morning, so things are looking up already. So.
All right, seems I'm hearing no other questions. Let's move on. Item number 7 is public hearing. We have none. So we'll move on to new business. Item 8A, this is a town planner item. Scott and Sandy, what is it? McGart? 1487 Jonquil.
Okay, this is a request for an exception from ordinance number 8, section 5-9. The Maggart's property is 1467 Jonquil. This is Jonquil Lane, Otter Lake Road. You can say they've got 2 lots here that they purchased, but combined them into one. So it's a larger lot in the neighborhood there. What they'd like to do, and this is a 2018 aerial photo, they have an existing garage that's attached to the home. They have an existing larger outbuilding on this other lot, again tied together. And then they had a 10 by 14 shed right here. They demolished this shed, came to apply for a building permit to put up a smaller 10 by 12 shed, and were informed that you can only have one garage and one accessory structure. for ordinance number 8, and that's section 529. So they requested a variance, or we call it an exemption from ordinance number 8, this section. So it went to the variance board for review, as well as the planning commission. Both took a look at the situation and decided, since they actually have 2 buildable lots there, they felt it could qualify for the exception. Because if this were ever to be subdivided, there would still be a garage and an accessory structure on this one, and then just that garage, which would likely be removed and a home put up on that lot in the future. So variance board, planning commission both recommended approval of the exception from 5-29.
Tom, that extra lot is buildable? It meets the town requirements?
It was platted as a buildable lot, yeah.
Is it stub, sewer, and water?
Ooh, I didn't check that. Would imagine it is, though.
So the applicant's aware that if they subdivide it, there's no room for a house unless they take that building down.
Yeah, in order to qualify for a subdivision, you can't put a garage up before you put a house up. So the town may require that that come down.
Steve, questions, comments?
I was going to make a comment, and Tom, you might not know this, but originally, there was a swimming pool right behind the house, and that's why that outbuilding, that out shed was put back further.
Okay.
They filled in that swimming pool at some point in the past, and that's why they wanted to move it more forward. And just for your information, there is a fence across there, so it looks like it follows the line straight across, but it is 2 separate lots, or 1 lot, but can be divided, as Tom mentions.
Is there a driveway coming off of Otter Lake Road to access that garage then?
Yes. It's gravel.
Did they have to go to the county for that, Tom?
Driveway's there, so yeah, they would have had to received a permit from the county to put that in.
Yeah, the county,
That there's a teacher, at least one teacher in the audience.
the county, in their right-of-way along Otter Lake Road, they have a couple other places down there where it's gravel out onto the Otter Lake Road, so they've all been approved in the past by the county.
Scott, any questions?
Just wanted to validate 2 questions. One is, we're not changing the ordinance, but we are having an exception to it, number 1. And number 2, it sounds like it's a smaller facility than what was there before.
It is, it's,
Okay.
yeah, a little smaller.
All right, just
And it's a
wanted to-
limited accessory structure, so it's not even, I don't believe it's planned to be on concrete or anything. It would
Okay.
be movable.
Tom, just for the record, you want to review why that building was put up because of ordinance number 8?
The new building, or?
Yeah. The requirements that allow them to do it
Yeah.
because it abuts.
Well, in this case, it doesn't, and that's the exception. 529 allows exceptions to the square footage. Right now, we cap it at 1,000 square feet. Some people who have larger lots, and they have to be at least a half acre in size, they have to be next to a conservation wetland or open space area, so it's basically a larger lot. There have been exceptions approved to exceed the square footage. That's not the case. They're still under the square footage of 2,000 maximum, 1 for the garage, 1 for the accessory structure, or structures in this case. Green areas is fine also. I believe they're at 20%, 26%. So 529 has several stipulations in it that say, special requirements. So we would be varying or creating an exception to that section of the ordinance.
Because of the unique circumstances, obviously, we would have findings for this that probably wouldn't apply to the next guy that comes in and says, you did it here, I want it.
Right, so this is not a variance from the zoning ordinance, which has to meet 7 standards. This is just, there's no standards to be met for a variance, but you do have to justify why you're allowing the exception here. And in the case with this one, the Planning Commission and Variance Board both said, well, you've got 2 lots here. So that, in our minds, would qualify for that exception.
Because I believe that was one of the building inspector's concerns. I think, during the variance board meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important to note that this is 2 lots versus 1. So that's what makes this one unique.
All right, are the applicants here?
No, I don't see him tonight.
Okay. All right, any other questions of Tom? All right, hearing none, I gather, Steve, your liaison to the Planning Commission?
Yes. I'll move based on the variance board, planning commission, and staff review and recommendations, approve the exception to section 5-29 of ordinance number 8 to allow a limited accessory structure at 1467 Jonquil.
I'll second that motion.
All right, motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that motion carries. All right, next time we have Deer Meadows Trail and swale improvements. Are you going to take that one?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, Town Board. In connection with the stable property, we're looking at an opportunity to build the trail connection across the Deer Meadow Park area to get to the stable property, and in conjunction with that, clean out the ponds and ditching in and around that area. As we've been discussing, the stable property is looking to develop. We want to use that property as access to get the work done without having to tear up the existing trail in the Deer Meadow Park to do the work. So now is the appropriate time to do both the pond maintenance and the trail, so we minimize impact to the existing trail system and infrastructure. We've been working with the Watershed District on the requirements, and the plans and specifications are now complete, and we're looking for approval tonight of those plans of specifications, authorizing advertisement for bids, and authorizing soil material testing, so that material that gets removed from the pond is tested to see what is composed of that material. And in some cases, there's some contaminants from the street that run off into the pond, and they need to be dealt with specially. So we test those materials to see what levels of contamination they are. So we're looking for approval of the soil material testing, and then looking for approval to bid the project, including the cost to obtain final permits and bid the project. And with that, I can answer any of your questions.
Scott?
How often does a swale and a stormwater pond need to be cleaned out? And I'm sure it varies on the size of the pond, but how long has it been for these, and when would you anticipate potentially needing to do it again?
Yeah, so let me look at the dates on some of these. Normally for ponds, it's 20 plus years. It can depend on the runoff that flows to the pond before the vegetation is established. And if there's sediment, say for example, the building in that development didn't happen all in a series of a couple years, it happens over longer periods of time, there might be sediment that migrates to the pond to help fill it. It also depends on how much, upstream debris and silt gets to that pond through people's landscaping projects or other open soil activities. But it looks like, it's hard to read. I guess I don't know exactly when it was originally built.
I was just curious, when this is done, and ideally there's some construction later on in the stables area, would that contribute to having to clean this out again within a few years?
Well, the runoff for the stable property, we have another pond being proposed for that project.
Okay.
So most of that runoff would flow that direction.
Okay.
You got?
That's it?
Steve?
Well, you hit on my two questions that I was going to ask also. So the stormwater pond really exists because of the Deer Meadow complex?
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's just normal maintenance?
It was built with that project. Or it was built in advance of that project and then also kind of restored as a part of that project.
Larry, what's the depth of that pond?
The proposed depth, will be about 6 feet. The existing depth, well, there's the weir structure that outlets that pond is not functioning the way it was intended. So the pond is actually 2 feet higher than it was originally intended. And so, but the bottom elevation is it's roughly 5 feet, 4 or 5 feet now.
Okay,
So
where I'm going with this.
we're going to restore to the original,
That's where I was going with that, yeah.
the original elevations, and then dig it lower to have about 5 to 6 feet of depth.
So obviously then you have to redo the weirs to get it
Yes.
operational.
Yep. And they're wooden weirs, so over the course of time, there's damage that occurs to them and rot. So,
Sure.
Well, once that's completed, then would that fall into Dale's maintenance cycle of checking every X number of months or years?
yes, and I think the township over the last few years has done a better job at checking the stormwater infrastructure, and it's part of our GIS asset management program. And so, yeah, it will be checked then more periodically.
Well, we have a regular pond cleaning program, and I think, what do we have? A couple hundred ponds in the township?
Yeah, I was thinking about that on my drive. I think there's 100 plus.
Okay. So basically, it's just periodic maintenance that we're gonna see this one again come up even after it's done. All right, any other questions of the board? Okay, I think some residents here want to speak to this. If you would, please come to the podium, give your name and your address. This is displayed throughout the township on, what you call digital.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, my name is Rolf Parsons. I live at 2576 Parkview Court. My property is right on the pond. I'd like to address the pond, and at this time, perhaps later I'd like to talk about the trail when you're talking about that, unless I could address both. Is there an
Well, we'll
option?
see how much time we have, you know, if we can, we'll address most of the technical questions to Larry, so.
Okay, thank you, sir. Regarding the pond, one thing that we would request is that there actually be an assessment made of the pond depth. Reason being that the pond has been dredged. Mr. Morris, my neighbor, had it dredged at his own expense a number of years ago. We've made our own soundings, and so we're questioning the depth that has been discussed. To the best of our knowledge, nobody has checked that depth. We did converse with people who came out to look at it, and no soundings were made. So we just would like to have the facts before us prior to a decision to go ahead and do it. Besides Mr. Morris's mitigation, indeed, we've done some biological mitigations, getting some biological degradation, things that would remove some of the muck and things from the bottom of the pond for a number of years. So we're just asking that that be assessed if it's possible. I would like to just speak quickly to the trail, if I could.
Before you get on the trail,
Yes.
I want to ask him a question about the pond. So are you thinking it's deeper or shallower than?
We believe that the pond could well be deeper than is being guessed at.
Okay.
We're just suggesting we get the facts.
Okay.
That's our
I just
suggestion.
wanted to clear that
Well,
up.
Larry, maybe you can respond to that, Larry. When this pond was originally dug, we must have the original elevations, so we pretty much know what that bottom level of that pond was when it was dug, don't we?
Yes, we have the original pond design elevations. I believe that when they were doing the design or survey for the design, we checked that depth.
So they are gonna have fairly accurate elevations to where they want to get it back to. Now, what that is or what it's sitting at now, I'm not going to know until they get into it, I
So
suppose.
an assessment will be made, that's your
Absolutely.
point. Okay.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. I'd like to make 2 points about the trail, if it's possible.
Sure.
We have a couple of requests. One is, we note that a 10-foot trail is being proposed, and we understand that, I've heard 2 different explanations for why it would be 10 feet. One explanation has been to provide maintenance to the pond, to bring equipment in from the Sable properties. And we've heard it coming both from Deer Meadow and from the Sable properties. That's fine. The other argument we've heard is that it's a regional trail, and we're questioning that to some extent. The reason we question it is that it's really connecting some neighborhoods, given that the trail at one point has to cross a wetland from Bloom to Red Pine. That's crossing a wetland, is currently a wood chip trail, and I'm just wondering if that would ever be a hard trail, a 10-foot trail. I rather doubt it, frankly. And if that piece of what would become a regional trail or an intended regional trail could not ever be completed, then by definition it won't be a regional trail. We are suggesting and requesting that the trail be 8 feet rather than 10, just to reduce the environmental impact on the area. We've already had it explained to us that it's fairly mitigated given where the wetlands begin and existing trees and things of that nature. Anything we could do to reduce the environmental impact would be desirable from our point of view.
Well, unfortunately, our Public Works Director is on vacation, and that 10-foot, I'm sure, is because of vehicle width and also plowing if they had to ever get in there in the winter. So I'm sure that leads to part of the 10-foot trail, but Tom, maybe you can address the regional part of it.
Yeah, no, this has never been considered a regional trail. 10 foot wide is a regional trail width, so it is a little bit of overkill, but yeah, it's almost entirely for maintenance purposes that it's been suggested we go with a 10 foot.
Tom, it'll be paved just to the pond for now?
It'll be paved up to the Stable property
Okay.
and picked up from there in the future.
And I would like to just take a moment to compliment Tom on his dialogue with us and his willingness to share information. It's been very, very helpful. Regarding plowing, however, Deer Meadow Park is an 8-foot trail, and that's being plowed. Up off Bloom Avenue, it's a 6-foot trail. So what's being proposed is to connect an 8-foot trail with a 10-foot trail to a 6-foot trail. And we're just wondering why that couldn't be 8 feet, or even 6, but that's another matter.
Well, then that does step off the
Right.
width of a plow truck, so.
I'm not going to argue the point. Finally, this will require some extensive trimming of trees that we currently have, and we would really like to request that there be a significant amount of tree planting, if at all possible. There are a number of locations where opening this trail up is going to change both the view from houses and, more importantly, views of the houses back there. We're very vulnerable, honestly, hate to say this so publicly, but in our backyards, we're very vulnerable to vandalism and theft. And so anything we can do to reduce that would be very desirable. So
Steve,
Tom and I have
how is
talked
our
about it.
tree trust program coming?
Well, and that's what I was just gonna ask Tom. We have tree trust program that was part of the water gremlin business, but it has to be planted on public property. That's why I was.
And this is public property,
There you go.
and we've been in contact with the tree trust, and the plan is to plant this in the spring, so we're gonna put the design together yet this fall and winter, and
And I will comment on the tree trust, they put in plants, they're not putting in ash trees, for example. They're putting in trees that have been designated as, there's no such thing as bug-proof forever, but that's what the native trees they're trying to put in, not necessarily the fastest growing, but there's some dialogue that Tom could have with them.
Well, I would finally comment that we're a senior community, so the faster the trees grow, the better. I'm already not buying green bananas, so thank you for your time.
I'll give you the duly noted there, how's that? Thank you.
Thanks, Ralph. Oh, has a planning or a park board looked at this for the trail?
I don't think we've done any particular work.
We didn't get too much detail into the design or anything, just the discussion that there was going to be a trail here, and it's in the comprehensive plan, so, but we didn't look at the detailed plans. We did walk the site last Friday, and the chair of the park board was with us on that visit.
So that 10-foot trail, if you go to 8-foot, is it saving trees, or have you kind of plotted it where it goes? Does it make sense to drop it to 8 to try to keep? I mean, it doesn't make any sense if you go to 8, but there's trees right on top of the trail, then the maintenance vehicles still are gonna have a problem going through there.
There's trees that'll be removed. I'm not sure if the 8 versus 10 makes a difference, maybe a little bit. Hate to be a tree snob, but the quality trees are the spruce along the edge of the pond, and those are going to be retained. They are going to be trimmed up a little bit. You get to the other side of the pond, and you're in your scrubs, your box elders, and things like that. Some rough trees versus nice trees, but tree's a tree to many people.
Larry, the pond schedule for the stable properties, is that bigger than this one or smaller?
I believe the stable property pond is going to be bigger and meet, current standards. I don't know, Tom, if you...
It's approximately the same size.
Same size or just a little bit bigger and stable?
Okay, so when that one's constructed, it can be accessed from both north and south, though?
Yes, yep. On the trail?
Right.
Yep.
Well, so what I'm getting at is if you can access the new pond from the north, this existing pond from the south, is there a need to have that big a trail between? That's where I'm going with this.
That's what you're good at. Yeah.
That's a good point. I mean, I don't know if the overall goal for the maintenance and plowing is to use a different vehicle type, and over time, you're transitioning to a 10-foot trail in this entire area.
Yeah. I think maintenance on existing trails that are 6 to 8 feet are achievable but more difficult. And I think we've gotten input from the Public Works Director that in a perfect world with equipment and more efficient maintenance, it'd be better if it was at 10 feet. But I think the point that at 8 feet that it is manageable to be maintained, I mean, it can be. It's just a little bit more of a challenge.
I think the only problem is you go to 6 feet, now you're required to use a skid steer.
I don't think 6 feet is manageable.
No. And 8,
Eight,
with a 8-foot blade, but most of our trucks don't have 8-foot blades,
No,
do they?
no,
They've got bigger blades.
they've got bigger
You
blades.
would need a truck with an 8-foot blade for the existing trail, and if you had a 10-foot trail, then would you get a different truck?
Well, I think some of our plows are V-plows too. When you V-plow it, then it would go down an 8-foot trail, so.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think the 10-foot request, I don't know if I'm overstepping on this, Tom, but is specifically coming from Public Works because they'd like it. It's more efficient and easier to manage that way.
Yeah, and then there are some curves in this
Yeah,
trail.
that too.
So it's, if you have a narrower width and you're trying to make those curves, you tend to have more plow damage, trying to maneuver those curves. So that's the other reason he was looking for a
Well,
10-foot trail.
our trails aren't normally plowed in the winter, but they are at least kept open for,
Yeah.
so. And it does, if you're coming in from both ends, it doesn't make sense to stop and then bring something else in to finish it. So I get that part, but I think it's something that it's still taking a look at. And I know, like I said, our Public Works is on vacation, so we can't quiz them about it, but Well, Larry, part of your plans and specs, it's specking the whole trail as 10 feet?
Yes.
Is it possible to put in an alternate of an 8-foot section in there?
Yes.
So we could at least see what that would do for the cost and how it lays out for trees and,
Yeah, and when I'm looking at the plans, the trees that are impacted because of the trail are on the opposite side of the pond and the homes. So they wouldn't provide the trees that would be removed with the trail project are more on the other side and wouldn't act as a buffer between the trail and the homes
okay.
that are removed. So the trees impacted with a 10-foot, you know, and with an 8-foot, it's probably, most of them are impacted anyway, but they're not going to provide that screening, the ones that are being removed for the trail.
And I know, Steve, most of the trees in the tree trust are what, 6, 8 feet tall to start? They're not small, they're good size.
Yeah, and they maintain them for the first 2 years.
Years, I think.
They plant them, they maintain them. After that, it becomes our business. And there is a variety, so I mean, it's not like you're gonna get one type of tree for a lane. It'll be a combination of types of trees, all hardwoods, pretty much. I think that's it.
Well, Larry, in your plans and specs, do you have anything in there for landscaping or trees?
I guess I don't have the bid breakdown. Do you remember?
I doubt it, because we were counting on the tree trust from day one on this one, so.
I think your plan is to come in next spring when.
Yep.
Yep, the project's done.
All right, any other
So
questions?
those-
So Larry, while we got him up here?
So those vehicles that come to plant those trees could probably use a 10-foot trail to be able to maneuver on, so.
Well, the one I saw had a big water tank on it too.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit, but. All right, any other neighbors wish to comment? All right. Okay, hearing none. We've got, what, 4 different motions here you're looking for, Larry?
Yes.
First one is the approval of the plans and specifications with, if Larry's obliged, we could put an addendum in there to have him at least look at an 8-foot section in there to avoid too much vegetation loss.
Sure. I'll make a motion based on the town engineer review and recommendation, approve the amended plans and specifications, with the amendment being, looking at an 8-foot versus 10-foot pathway. Okay.
So a second on the motion?
I'll second that.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that motion carries. The second one is authorizing advertisement for bids.
I'll make a motion based on the town engineer review and recommendations, authorize advertisement for bids
Can I ask a question?
once the,
Would that advertisement be impacted by going one way or the other with the 2 options we just talked about?
No, that's an easy amendment to the bid documents.
Okay, then I'll second that motion.
All right, motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. The third one is the soil material testing.
I'll make a motion based on the town engineer review and recommendation, approve the soil material testing.
Second that?
And that would also include your depth verifications, Larry, for
Yeah.
pond depth?
Yep, I texted our surveyor too, to say, I think they already did that.
Okay.
I'll make that motion as amended to your clarification.
I'll second that amended motion.
All right. Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? And then the last one is authorize TKDA.
I'll move based on the town engineer review and recommendation, authorize TKDA to obtain Rice Creek Watershed District permit and bidding, and note that the TKDA will perform the permitting and bidding phases of the project in an amount not to exceed $11,850, which includes $7,350 for soil testing, $4,500 for TKDA to obtain the Rice Creek Watershed District permit and address soil testing and perform the bidding process.
Second on the motion?
I'll second that.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Larry, when do you expect to have a bid opening?
We bring these bids back to you, September 9th.
And this is still a project you want to do this year then?
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks to the neighbors for coming in. We appreciate your input. And we'll know more here September 9th. All right. That concludes our regular agenda. Item 9 is open time.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
I see the Petersons are here.
Yes, we are. The project that is just never ending and won't go away for you guys, but. Patricia Peterson, 5474 Peterson Road. While the Peterson Road Improvement Project seems to be a done deal, regardless of the fact, again, that 90% of the residents involved don't want any of it, and because I need logic in helping me understand how this happened, I'm asking for some clarification on some items I've found in meeting minutes over the last couple of years. Going way back to the March 22nd Planning Commission in 2018, Mr. Prudahorn stated that Three Oaks was driving the development of Peterson Road and that water and sewer would come down Peterson Road. He asked the developers, are they still on board with how to deal with Peterson Road? And the architect stated they are. So I guess my question is, Mr. Prudahorn, if North Oaks really wasn't ever going to be a part of paying for Peterson Road, helping with any cost, why was that question asked and what did that question mean exactly?
Well, there's a couple things. To start with, they are partially paying for Peterson Road because they have 2 properties that will be assessed for Peterson Road.
Okay.
So that was part of it. Another part of it is I'm probably impacted more than any of the neighbors because that project is going to put sewer down my property line.
Right.
And that's a huge disruption on my property.
Right.
It's 600 feet by 20 feet to put this all in and get it set up. So when you say it's driven, obviously this is urban sprawl. As we develop, things come along with it. As the Pine Tree Hills was developed, we knew it was coming. When Three Oaks came, the Planning Commission knew. As these parcels and these pieces of property get developed, along comes the rest of them with it, which is Peterson Road.
Right. And
So
I
it did expedite it, but it's eventually going to happen no matter what.
Right, and I can understand that, so I'll go on with my questions because it kind of gets better, and I just have a few things. So, April 2nd, 2018, the town board meeting minutes, and I'll just kind of summarize, stating that it would be done in 2 phases, and because of the rapid movement of Three Oaks, they didn't want to do Peterson at the same time, so it was going to be phased in differently. Input from the, it was not anticipated that it would be done. Input from the neighborhood regarding hooking up to sewer and water would be solicited and a feasibility report would come later. Mr. Ruzak moved to adopt the resolution ordering preparation of a report on the street and utility improvement pursuant to a petition by 100% of affected property owners. These are taken from minutes, so Mr. Ruzak, if you felt that even the ordering of the report needed 100% participation, and now we have 90% of people that don't want this project done, what's changed? What changed your mind that you would go along with this project?
Well, that is the process that's in place to even move anything forward, is you have to do those feasibility studies.
Okay,
So that was the process, and.
okay,
I
but you
just
wanted
affirmed.
100% participation, I guess, is the, the people. That's kind of what the minutes said, that it was pursuant to a petition by 100% of the affected property owners. That's exactly taken out of the minutes from that. And I realize these are old minutes, so I'm not trying to be argumentative here. I'm just, like I said, I really need clarity when it comes to these kind of things, because it doesn't make sense. I understand progress and all this, but in April of 2016, I'll get faster here, but in April 16, 2018, town board minutes, it was the whole North Oaks, or the Three Oaks development. I'll kind of summarize. It was actually going to be pretty much everything we're getting right now. And they ended up paying about 1.3 for their whole project. Now we have basically 2/10 of a mile for 1.1. So I guess why wasn't it bid pretty much at the same time? And maybe, I don't know if the engineer can tell us or whatever, but why wasn't a bidding process done at the same time for our project as well? Understanding it couldn't go forward at the time. But I don't know if my question makes sense on that.
You want to answer?
As far as minutes, Larry, maybe, I guess I don't remember that part because this phase 1, phase 2 never meant they were the same project. They were meant two different projects, but
Right.
they were going to be done maybe together or split up.
Right.
But if I recall, obviously, we can't hold up a private property development
Right.
because we want to see one of our public roads improved. So, and I think that's part of the reason why they didn't want to wait.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, sir.
I wrote that on there a little bit, because the public process for improvements has to follow, we're gonna follow the 429 process. The developer process, they get their own bids and they build it a lot of times.
And then each individual lot is assessed for that amount that helps them recoup their costs.
Yeah, and so we would have had to follow a little bit different process if we were to combine both the projects. And I don't recall any of the minutes or discussions from that time, but related to 3.0, it's Oaks. I wasn't very much involved with that, but they're kind of two different, a public improvement project and a
Okay.
private development project. Meshing the two can be sometimes difficult.
Okay, that answered that question. Thank you very much, Larry. Appreciate that. In a July 27, 2018 executive meeting minutes, we actually had come, and Tom can obtain this, because of the original drawings of Three Oaks, we were never involved. 5470 and 5474 was never involved in the original project drawings. We approached Tom asking him, gee, they're putting in the manhole, what would it cost for us to get stubs at the same time? And we did come and meet with the executive board on the 27th, I believe it was, of July that year. We were showing the new drawings. It wasn't proposed to go down Peterson at the time, so we withdrew our thing. But since none of the original plans included our property, we're wondering, why are we now? And when did the plan change to include us? Because I haven't found that in any of the meeting minutes.
Well, I think the engineer can address part of this. The reason, you're talking about the length of the road, where the road goes?
No. Well, yes, I mean, because originally it was coming from Mahegan, it was not even impacting us. We weren't anywhere near a sewer and water stub at all. And that's why we approached the board to ask about the feasibility of possibly getting them put on our property at the time. Since everybody was going to be there, kind of thing, it was going to do it. And then we were told that it wasn't going to go up there. And I'll kind of tie this in with another one, because this is now a very new one. May 18th of just this year, in town board minutes. It says, since the north of Mahegan Lane is wetland and the right-of-way isn't in the road, when there is more development in that area, or the north half would be done, considered in the future development, when there was more development. The town wants to include sanitary water, sewer, and paved road to the southern portion of Peterson Road. Again, wouldn't be us. I mean, we're not bucking the whole system. We understand progress, but I guess I don't know when the plans changed to include 5470 and us.
I guess, I'm trying to think back, God, I feel like I got to consult with the attorney. When we talk about development to the north, that's north of you. So all of the discussions we're having, development to the north means you're already developed, so everything north would be north of your property.
But any of the old plans never had us in there.
The old
And
plans
that's why we-
for what?
For anything.
We haven't had any plans for Peterson Road yet. That's why I'm
Yeah, there
confused
was.
on what we're talking about.
No,
here.
there really was, Mr. Prudhorn. There was an original drawing that showed where it was going to be, because that's why we asked for the feasibility report.
Do you remember anything like this, Tom?
I know it's taken several, first we were gonna do all the way down Peterson Road, and then it was determined, because of the larger acreages, the developable property, it should wait until they petitioned for it. No, I
Because part of the
just
problem
thought,
is,
my recollection is thinking that you were interested in the project because you had come to us and asked for sewer and water, so.
Right, and
I
that
think
was
the
because of-
assumption there was to include that property.
Right, and the only reason that we were asking about it is because of the original drawing that we saw way back when did not include us. It came off of where Mahagan is and went basically toward H2.
well, I thought I kept pretty accurate records. I just don't remember ever seeing anything like that.
Yeah. So I'm,
Well-
you know,
well,
it's,
but
so
the-
again,
the-
it's just questions.
The biggest thing is, because of Mahagan,
Mm-hmm.
and now a storage pond for stormwater behind that property on the northwest corner, the road is almost, was just required to go that far to get to that pond, so we can still get all that runoff to that pond, which engulfs your property. And not very, there's really no way, because there's just a connection out in the road, that we could hook up one individual person. That would never happen, because that's not the town, to start with, not town policy, plus we'd be putting it in, then tearing it back up again.
Okay. This is then off of this. This is kind of, I think, for you, Larry. I would just, it would be nice to have clarification on the other homeowner cost portion of the handout we received at the June 17th meeting. It said something about connection fees for water access charge, sewer access charge. I don't understand, like, exactly what that is, and, because it's like a $5,000.
Larry, will you be going over a lot of this tomorrow, Wednesday night? with the-
yes.
Yeah, and I mean, I can ask you the other ones too, but, you know, it's just,
Yeah, your specific questions related to this slide from our,
Yes.
from our last meeting. Yes, so we, with the Peterson Road project, we build the sewer and water up to the property line.
okay.
And so in order for you to connect, you would have to do the work from either your septic mound or your well.
Correct,
Coming out
yeah.
of your,
No, I
coming out of your home.
got that
Yep.
part, yep.
And so with that, there's additional fees that cover connection. Fees that go to the Met Council for,
To Metco, okay.
for new services
Okay.
added, so.
Nope, that's
I can
great.
walk you through every one of these fees on Wednesday. or-
That's great, that's perfect.
Yeah.
And just an FYI maybe for you, we've gotten a bid knowing, you know, that we are not going to be able to stop this, so whatever, but the $5,000 starting points were really low. And I
Okay.
don't know if maybe telling the residents that it's going to be a whole lot, our estimate we were given is about 15.
Okay.
So just to, you know, just to be a little bit more upfront with the residents and saying.
Yeah, and it's very dependent on where your well is located.
Right.
Where your septic system is
Right.
located. You know, the other thing I suggest with a first-time improvement project like that is to work with your neighbors and maybe hire the same contractor and get a better deal there.
Okay, thanks, Larry,
Yep.
and we'll look forward to seeing you Wednesday.
Yeah.
I promise I won't be mean or anything. My one final question to the board. Since one of the reasons given to the project was the goal of getting everybody off private wells and septics, is the township board planning on forcing any of the residents with working systems to hook up after the completion of the project?
Absolutely not.
No.
No. So that would never, as long as we can keep
If your
passing.
system fails, we will not let you repair it, then you have to hook up.
But
Okay.
I'll make one caveat.
Okay.
If we were ordered by a governmental agency that
Then we
has
don't have a
jurisdiction,
choice.
we have no choice. So
Okay.
I want that in the record too.
Right,
But
and-
from
and
my
who-
perspective, absolutely not.
Okay, who would the governmental, like
Well, let's
MPCA
say
or
this,
something like that?
let's say as a
DNR.
result of a
Envir-
lawsuit,
oh,
if
DNR,
they
okay.
order us to close all private wells.
Okay.
And septic systems, we have no
Okay,
choice.
the board, no, but it could come from
I mean,
higher,
that's my
higher
position.
power.
Yeah.
All right, well, I thank you all, gentlemen, for your time. Didn't really mean to be a pain, but.
Oh, that's
you know.
okay. We'll see you Wednesday.
All right, thank you.
Just before you run off, I just want to make sure, we did get your email that you brought to the office, so I do have that in possession. Thank you for your input.
Thank you.
All right.
Danny Peterson, 5474 Peterson Road.
She did a pretty good job, so I'm not going to go over any of what she talked about, but The only reason I guess we keep coming here and bothering you fine folks is just to make sure that you realize that there ain't too many people happy about this thing, but,
Danny, I'm one of them. I'm not happy about it.
all I can ask is that, Mr. McCoon, next time when it comes up for bidding, when they have the bids and you got that big decision to make, because you had a hard time making that decision last time on the second of Mr. Rudak's thing there, you were, and I screwed up that night. I should have been pounding on you all night, and the rest of us should have been on you. That was our moment, and I blew it. So just be a little, if you don't think it's right, you could do the thumbs down for us, I'd appreciate it. So we'll leave that alone. She, like I said, she did a good job. So I got a few questions. Could we subdivide our current property? Because I know when we combined our two lots, we were told we could never separate them or
I have
build.
not a clue. I have no idea of history of your property. I could not tell you that.
I've looked at that. I think you're 150 feet wide, aren't you?
Yeah.
So you could possibly, with a variance, split it into two, both fronting on Peterson. Minimum standard is 80 feet. But when you have 150 and you have the square footage that you have, we have set a precedent of allowing 75-foot wide lots.
I think he means the one, because we bought a lot behind us.
Oh,
our
yeah,
back lot.
yeah,
And we were
and
told at that time when we bought it, the board made us combine them at the time.
But
For
that was
tax
not knowing there
purposes.
may be a road going to the east of your property? Is that what you're getting at? To sell the back property off to a road coming in on the east?
Well, just asking.
Well, but is that what you're talking about splitting? Not splitting it in half on Peterson?
No.
You're talking
Oh,
splitting it in
no,
half for?
no.
All right, okay. I
Right,
just want-
because in the future, if you ever run a road in the back of me and you have 4 lots, I'd never be able to, I'd go, I wouldn't make any money. I'd be paying all this money for sewer and water and curb and gutter and blacktop. That's why I'm thinking I might be better to sell it and get out of that nightmare, rather than sit there when you decide to run a road behind me. Now I got 4 lots. I got $40,000 on each lot. I'll be drinking a lot of beer.
yeah, well, the price of lots are going up, it seems like,
Well-
but that'll be based, and that new road behind you will probably be based on a petition from the property owners that would, so you guys, if you're still there, unless you sell it to a developer, and the property to your south, and then more likely people to the north too. Combining all those, makes it more cost effective, obviously, but there's some potential, there's a master plan that shows you guys splitting it into 4 or 6 lots is what I recall.
That's way beyond our discussion for tonight.
Okay, no, I'm just throwing out there. Is there any ordinances currently denying me to contact billboard company of any kind to put a billboard in my backyard?
You wouldn't be zoned for that. It's got to be light industrial zone, and that's actually a MnDOT standard, so you're residentially zoned, so, sorry.
Well, I'm gonna let you off easy. I'm done, but Mr. McCoon, just think of big time next time. I appreciate all of you. Have a good night.
All right, thank you. All
Thank you.
right, moving on. Rest of the added agenda items were done. Item 11 is receipt of agenda materials and supplements.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed. And last, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned at 7:53.
Thank you, gentlemen.